NSFW, what's the horniest thing you've ever done? Pre-internet I spent 4 hours drawing a naked woman, pixel by pixel, poorly, in MS Paint to jerk off to. 19 years old me wanted to duck so badly that, after going out with this really great girl, I convinced her we should park on a less visible side road to talk. Turns out less visible roads have less visible ditches on the sides, and there goes my car into the ditch. Now we are stranded in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. She takes her shoes off and tells me to go outside and push, and hops in the driver's seat. And so I did push. 8 years later I'm still pushing whatever she tells me to. Back in high school one time I jerked off 11 times in one day. Between 6 a.m. and 1 a.m. My duck was in so much pain and I couldn't move for a day or so. Don't do that.
Reddit, what is your craziest dorm story? NSFW. In the late 70s/early 80s, Illinois State built a brand new dorm building where the rooms all had 2 closets, one on each side wall. But because they built the dorm on the cheap, the backs of the closets didn't have real walls, only thin pieces of pressboard. That was all that was separated one dorm room from the next. Once students figured this out, they cut big holes in the pressboard so that you could get to the adjoining dorm room by opening the closet door and scooting through the hole in the back wall. They did this in room after room, until they had effectively built a huge secret passageway connecting every single dorm room on the floor. The creation of this secret passageway led, almost immediately, to a culture of endless, enormous, authority-proof dorm parties. As soon as anybody knocked on the door or the party room, everybody could bail through the closets and be 7 doors down the hall by the time the RA or campus security were let in. Or they would keep all the alcohol and whatnot in one room, and have all the people in the next. So even when the RA knew there was a ginormous party happening, they couldn't do jack shit about it. It was total non-stop chaos. Some of the bigger hooligans would commit all manner of mischief on campus, and then hightail to this dorm building, knowing that once they were safely inside any room, there was no way the cops could ever find them. Every summer, the school would replace the ripped-out pressboard with sturdier and sturdier material. But students just got stronger saws, and kept rebuilding the secret passageways, year after year. Eventually, only a few years after they built it, the school gave up and tore the building down.
It's a fun NSFW history fact. Vikings were indeed banging up and down the British coastline like pop culture portrays them. But unlike pop culture imagery of them grabbing women out of their houses and carrying them off to rape, we have writings from the period of British men complaining about Vikings seducing British women using their unfair advantage of regular bathing and grooming. There's a sound archive of JFK having sex because the FBI thought the girl was a German spy and tried recording the conversation. Well, no conversation took place, but a lot of f***ing did. At Andrew Jackson's funeral, his pet parrot was removed because he would not stop cursing. Soldiers in WW1 would deliberately have sex with STD-ridden prostitutes so they could claim medical leave and be discharged to get out of the war. Ancient Roman women would use the oil and sweat scraped from gladiator skin as an aphrodisiac. Pope Alexander VI liked watching horses fuck. King Charles II had a wig made out of the pubic hair of his mistresses. King George IV attempted to recreate one of his own but died before he could complete it. How's this? Ancient Egyptians believed that the god of creation birthed the world by masturbating, and viewed it as a magical act. Mary Shelley, author of Frankenstein, frequently had sex in a graveyard, next to her own mother's grave. In the 1800s the middle finger was a sign of threatening someone with sex. Alexander Hamilton was the subject of the first celebrity sex scandal of the United States. Egyptian pharaoh PPI II covered his slaves in honey so the bugs wouldn't bother him. The ancient Greeks believed small penises were a sign of intelligence and cultural distinction, and only foolish men who were ruled by lust and sexual urges had large penises. That's why so many statues have tiny ones. In 1672, the Dutch hated their Prime Minister Johan de Witt so much that a mob lynched and partially ate him and his brother.
Reddit, what is your most NSFW job story? I worked at a movie theater and got a hand job behind the screen as a movie was playing. It was kinda crazy. If you are behind the screen you can see all the people watching the movie. It was like everybody was watching me get jerked off but thought it was funny as hell every now and then. In summary, coworker sits on my lap facing me. Innocent as we are still clothed and having a normal conversation, but my hands are under her shirt and I grab her boobs. My boss comes in and sees us like this, apologizes and does a 180. We can't stop laughing. Never mentioned it, never had any trouble. Sex on the conference room table, right before a meeting. The room had a smell after. I worked in a hotel as a cook and I had sex on a Sunday with a waitress who was like twice my age almost. Only me and her were there cause the manager was never there on Sundays and not a single guest was there either. So we had a bathroom quickie. What's your most shameful NSFW moment? I thought God would kill me for masturbating when I was little so I barely ever did it. But the house would know when I was doing it because I'd yell I'm sorry God. My family wasn't even religious. I didn't even know where I got that idea from. My HSGF and I were having sex in the sideways laying down cuddling position. Mom walked in to show me a new Christmas decoration. To her it looked like we were just cuddling, but she sat on the bed inches away from me, actively inside her, and proceeded to talk about the decoration for like 10 minutes. I wonder if she knew. They never cared much about that stuff, so I think she was just oblivious. When I was 12, my younger sister walked in on me playing Fondle the Dungle. I told her I couldn't pee and was trying to force pump it out. She told my mom out of worry. Said I needed a doctor to help me pee. When Mom confronted me about what my sister was saying, I then had to explain it to her. First time I looked at I got a virus on my laptop. It turned my camera on and locked my laptop. Said this is the FBI, pay X fine. I was white as a ghost and went and told my mom and dad. Stupid me didn't realize it was fake until dad showed me it was bullshit. The fright of it got me. To this day dad still laughs about it and comments about it random. What is your worst sexual story? When I was about 15, my then girlfriend and I had the day off school and decided we just wanted to have sex all day. Now, since we were still living with our parents at the time and I also lived across town from her, I couldn't just ask my parents to drive me over there when her parents weren't home, religious family beliefs, so I had to get up early and walk a good hour over to her house to get there after her parents left for work. Now when I get there everything's going great for the first few hours, until we hear a knock on the door. We were in a spare room that had a full window that you could see into from the front door. Luckily the shades were down, and here I am, naked, blindfolded and tied to the bed while she quickly throws on a robe and answers the door. Now this whole time, roughly about 10 minutes, I'm tied naked to the bed, barely being able to hear what they were saying, crapping myself thinking it was one of her parents. Turned out to just be a family friend that she just got chatting to and couldn't get to leave. Anyway, after that she came back in and profusely started apologizing for leaving me like that, and we started going at it again. Couple hours pass, we're having a good time, and then we hear someone pulling up the driveway. And we thought it might just be another family friend or something, so she took a peek out the window to see who it was. It was her mother. Her mother hated me for some reason from the very beginning, and even more after she found out we were having sex, so we were both terrified. I ended up hiding under the bed, again completely naked, for about half an hour until her mother left. Now at this point she thought we should just call it a day and both leave the house to avoid any more close calls. Me being an idiot convinced her that we should stay and keep going. So now it's around lunchtime and her mother generally always came home from work for lunch break, so to avoid getting caught I left early, and instead of going out the front door and walking the streets, thinking her mom would see me, I decided to take a walking trail that was behind her house and lead to a park, which we would later meet at. Here I am thinking I'm smart walking along, turn the corner only to be greeted by her mother on the same trail. I crapped myself. The one time she ever decided to walk back from work and take the same path I did happened to be the one time I would have been safe going out the front door. She then later on sat us both down and gave us the sex talk, and also threatened me with telling my very religious parents if she found out we kept having sex afterwards. Which, being young and dumb, absolutely didn't stop us.
Is the most NSFW thing you have witnessed at a party? We were throwing a house party for one of our roommates that was turning 21. Said birthday boy was wasted fairly early in the night and was placed in the bathtub with the curtain drawn. Their logic was that he could sleep, and if he threw up he'd be in the tub. A couple hours later this girl shows up. She was a friend of a friend, 18, maybe 5 foot tall, super white girl who just got off her shift at Twin Peaks. As the mostly sober host, I welcomed her and went outside to have a cigarette. Maybe 15 minutes later I returned inside to find the tiny white girl on the floor puking into a trash can. Well, that escalated quickly, but not shocking considering her size. The start of the weirdness was that she was conversing with my friend Daniel, in fluent Spanish. Oh, okay, so she speaks Spanish. A little surprising, but whatever. So between heaves Daniel and I help her to the bathroom to pray to the porcelain god. She wants to shut the bathroom door. I say sure, but not to lock the door so we can get in there if she passes out, to make sure she doesn't, die. Of course, as soon as she goes in she locks the door. What we had forgotten was that birthday boy was asleep in the tub. He was awoken by what he described as the worst smelling shit he had ever smelled in his life. Not wanting to let this random girl know he was hiding in the bathtub, he did his best to keep quiet through the gagging. Tiny girl had diarrhea so rank that she decided that she was too embarrassed to face the party. Her solution? Climb out the tiny bathroom window. When we got the door unlocked and went in, we found her halfway out the window, her shit-covered thong on the floor, and birthday boy pale and sweating in the tub after his unwanted birthday surprise. She slept on her side on the couch with a female friend to watch over her. The next morning she claimed to not remember a thing and swears she doesn't know a word of Spanish.
When I was in middle school I came into a girl's vest. I was like 12 when this happened. I had this cute girl in class that I always fapped on. Every time I had to fap I would think about her effing me or something. So anyway, one day the class was watching the first Alien movie for Halloween. But my mother didn't want me to watch it, so she personally called the professor we had to watch it with and told him to not have me in the room while the movie was on. So I just got placed into the class while the other kids were going to watch the movie in another room. And then I noticed the cute girl I was talking about left her vest in the class, so I thought it would be funny to came on it. I don't know what my dumb teenage brain was thinking, but I did it. I closed door so that no one could see me, and in a matter of minutes her vest was covered in my cane. Unfortunately, post-nut clarity hit me like a truck. Realizing what I just did, I removed the comb from the vest and quietly sat back on my chair. She didn't notice when she came back, but I never told anyone about it.
NSFW, what's the best thing that happened to you in Truth or Dare? Back in high school, I was invited to a party. This was an unusual occurrence for me because I was a pretty weird kid looking back on it. Anyways, I went and was having a good time. As the night went on, people started to leave until there were just a few people left, so the host invited us all to the basement to play Truth or Dare. A few rounds went by until I was dared to play chicken with this guy. This is a game where two straight guys act gay and whoever chickens out first loses. The other guy and I are both really stubborn, and neither one of us wanted to lose. We've been married 14 years and we run a bed and breakfast in Vermont with our adopted daughter. If that dude doesn't chicken out soon, I'm going to start to suspect that he's actually gay.
Reddit, what is the guiltiest FAP you have ever had? In other words, what FAP made you feel the guiltiest/awkwardest afterwards? I'll start. One time I was on vacation in California and I hadn't FAP'd in over 3.5 weeks. My mind was filled by all these weird desires. My hotel was on the 14th floor of the building and the rooms next to me were empty. So yes, I FAP'd on the balcony. About midway through I got this weird idea to finish through the railing and have it ranges on the ground below, don't ask why. So I did, and it was a huge load. Little did I know that my room sat above a sidewalk. After finishing and cleaning up I got the munchies and decided to head down to the lobby to get a snack, and at the front desk there is a 20-something couple who were talking about how this bird to a massive dump on their heads and that they wanted to get to their room to clean up. I had the biggest moment of my life. I still feel bad about it to this day.